the city's north side. Detectives stood frozen, their shoes glued to the sticky floor. For 10 years, they had been chasing a ghost, a serial killer who struck at random, who mocked them with letters, and who always vanished just before they closed in. Now, standing in the room, the lead detective whispered the words no one wanted to hear. Last night. The killer had been right under their noses again. They found his calling card on the wall, written in red paint or maybe blood. 10 years and still too slow. The room went silent. The air was heavy with dread. This wasn't just a murder scene. This was proof that he was watching them, laughing at them, and controlling the game. Police thought they had cornered him. He slipped away once again, leaving them with nothing but another body and another taunt. And the question that rattled in everyone's mind was simple: how could a killer outsmart the police for 10 whole years? It all began in the quiet year of 2012, in a neighborhood where nothing ever seemed dangerous. People left their doors unlocked. Children rode bikes until the streetlights came on. The city was alive with laughter and peace. Nobody suspected that something dark was about to creep into their lives. The first victim was a schoolteacher named Linda Hayes. She lived alone in a small blue house with a white fence. On a cold November morning, she didn't show up for class. Parents thought she was sick, but when the police checked her house, they found the front door slightly open. Her living room looked normal. The kettle was still on the stove, the curtains half open, her shoes by the door. But Linda was gone. First, they treated it as a missing persons case. Maybe she ran away. Maybe she was visiting a friend. But 2 days later, a jogger found her body in the woods, carefully placed under a tree. She wasn't buried. She wasn't hidden. It was as if the killer wanted her to be found. Beside her body, they found something chilling: her watch, placed neatly on top of her chest, ticking as if mocking time itself. Newspapers called him the Watchman. People stopped walking at night. The police set up patrols, but nothing happened for months. People slowly began to breathe again. They thought maybe it was a one-time thing. But then, 6 months later, it happened again. This time, the victim was a taxi driver named Raymond King. His cab was found parked near the train tracks. He was slumped in the driver's seat, eyes open, lifeless. And once again, on his chest, lay a pocket watch. It was no coincidence anymore. The watchman had returned. At first, the murders were spread out 6 months apart, sometimes a year. Each victim was different: young, old, rich, poor, men, women. That's what made him so hard to track. Serial killers usually had a pattern, something that tied all their victims together. But the watchman didn't. He was unpredictable. He could strike anyone, anywhere. The city grew restless. Fear spread like a disease. Some people started carrying weapons. Others moved away. The police worked day and night, chasing every lead, but each one turned cold. Detective Marcus Hale, the man leading the investigation, was obsessed. He barely slept. His walls were covered in photos, red strings connecting suspects, maps with pins stuck everywhere. His wife begged him to take a break, but he couldn't. He had promised the families he would catch this man. But every time he thought he had the killer cornered, something strange happened. Witnesses disappeared. Evidence was tampered with. Surveillance cameras malfunctioned. It was as if the killer was always one step ahead, watching them, laughing at them. And then, one night in 2015, something terrifying happened. A young college girl named Sarah left a library late at night. Cameras showed her walking down the street. Then, she vanished. The footage cut out for exactly 30 seconds, and when it came back, she was gone. Police searched everywhere. Nothing. No blood, no struggle, no trace. 3 days later, Sarah's body was found on a park bench, sitting upright as if she had simply fallen asleep. A small wristwatch was placed in her hand. The watchman was no longer just killing, he was staging his victims like pieces of art. Detective Hale grew more desperate. The killer seemed untouchable. And the worst part was, the murders became more frequent. Instead of months, it was weeks. Instead of weeks, it was days. The city was on fire with fear. But still, no arrests. No suspects. It was as if the killer didn't exist. By the time the police tried setting traps, the watchman had already learned how to avoid them. They leaked fake news to the press to lure him out, but instead of falling for it, he used it against them, leaving bodies in places the police had promised were safe. He had turned the entire police force into a joke. And yet, people still had to live. The city still had to function. Life went on, even though everyone walked with their hearts pounding, waiting for the next victim. But in the spring of 2017, something happened that made everyone believe the nightmare was finally ending. The police received a tip a man had been seen near one of the crime scenes, lurking, watching. They followed him for weeks. They tapped his phone. They checked his house. Everything pointed to him being the watchman. Detective Hale felt hope for the first time in years. He believed they finally had him. One night, they set up an ambush. Dozens of officers surrounded the suspect's house. They waited for hours, hearts pounding. Then they stormed in. Empty. All they found was a note, pinned to the wall with a pocket watch hanging from it. The note read, "Too slow again, Detective." That night, something happened that would haunt Detective Hale forever. Because while they were wasting time raiding the empty house, another body was being found across town. Watchmen had been watching them the entire time. And this time, the victim was someone close to Hale.